just a precursor, I don't really care at all with the whole situation.
Lived in a black neighborhood for quite a while. I saw how they treated white people. It's not very good. And yet all the hate is on white males.
You would get beat up if you said something racial to a black person.
You saw that happen.
Yes.
They said something like, man, the hood ain't the hood anymore, as in, like, they were unhappy with my response.
Almost exclusively white communities exist all around the United States off of paper merely because of socioeconomics, and that if you are wealthy enough, everyone who becomes wealthy enough will buy into a more or less white-only gated community. But I would not be able to afford that outside of, working my entire life to build up a bunch of businesses, but I would like to have kids.
I want my kids to be taught that their ancestors did great things, not that they were the villains of history.
Correct, and Arkansas is nice. As far as I know, the laws are you just need to...
I think it's interesting because everything that they just said you could apply to black people, but people constantly tell black people they are wrong. It's interesting. Like, it's interesting. I'm not putting the racism on these people, but it's interesting when racists come with this mindset and they can't think about like the other side. Like, they can't think that it quite possibly black people might feel the same way, that they want to raise their kids and make their kids know that they aren't the enemy. You know what I'm talking about?
Let them know.
Also, I'm going in this with a completely like level mindset. We just gonna take it for how it is. This is a town in Arkansas, and this is starting to pop up more where they're starting to literally put in that they are only doing white-only communities, which personally I don't got a problem with. I feel like if y'all want to have a little community where y'all do your own thing, that's perfectly fine. Y'all have every right to. However, with that being said, it is interesting that white people are the only race that exclusively want to stay in their own box.
You know, some Italian Americans, like in Staten Island, think they're not white.
Oh,
They say, I'm not white, I'm Italian.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with the historical uses of the term white. For legal reasons, I believe Italians and Irish were actually always considered white.
Thank you.
Channel 5 News, broadcasting live from the Mojave mainframe. And today, we have a special report.
Ladies and gentlemen, the USA is in the state of emergency, and that emergency is related to rapid community decline. In 2019, more than 60% of Americans thought that in-person community involvement was very important. Today, that number is beneath 27%, marking the sharpest dip in modern U.S. history.
Damn.
Consequentially, loneliness is at an all-time high. 17% of Americans reportedly have no friends at all and spend the majority...
Fam, people are so lonely nowadays. I think it's so sad. Like, I feel like dating sucks. Just having a family sucks. I saw this one video where people were talking about how they've been no contact with their family on purpose. Now, I'm not really no contact, but I don't really talk to my family a lot. But this not for my choosing. For real, bro, I'm depressed. And I just feel like I feel like everybody's dealing with certain things. Like, bro, the economy sucks. The country sucks. You just go to work, you go home, and you just don't get loved. It sucks right now in America. So I can see why things is fucked up right now.
of their time, either at work or on social media. In my opinion, that's bad.
I don't think we're actually collectively benefiting from being the richest country on earth so much these days.
You could drive for a half hour in any direction and still be in just more suburbs.
If there's one thing that I want people to take away from our
Bro,
entire channel...
there's nothing to do. There is nothing. I was talking this in the last stream, bro. They got rid of skating rinks. They got rid of arcades. People don't go to the movies no more. There's nothing really to see at the movie theater. Like, there's nothing to do. Like, what? You go to the rage room? Like, fam, you go to a rage room, escape room. That shit's whack. But, like, even, like, bro, ain't nothing to do besides go to work and go home, bro. It sucks in America right now. It sucks so bad that people pass the time by going on Twitter and rage baiting. That's how bad it's gotten.
5 catalog is that community is the most important thing on earth. Aside from helping us to meet our core emotional needs, I believe that community really is like existential therapy that helps us to deal with the dread that accompanies the human condition. From the moment that we actualize death as young children, we spend the rest of our lives coping with the fact that an eternal silence likely awaits us at the end of this strange, beautiful, and painful journey. But community, unlike life itself, offers permanence. Through a strong and continuous community, you can achieve something close to collective immortality, at least in your own mind, which helps to assuage the fear of death in a way that makes life less painful. It's deeper than getting a beer with the homies, which also is happening way less.
We told you recently about a steep decline in partying among young people, 70% down.
Simultaneously, people are spending more time online than ever before, and by online, I mean on social media platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. This is only compounding the mental health effects of isolation. 40% of Americans between 18 and 22 admit to being an active social media addiction. 50% of Americans say that social media has had a negative effect on their personal relationships. 60% say it's impacted their self-esteem for the worse due to comparison. 80% admit to being deceived by social media content on a regular basis. And the average screen time for an 18-year-old American in 2025 is 8 hours and 39 minutes per day. Now, let's pivot and talk about the content that dominates social media platforms. As we mentioned in our previous video,
Bro, hate bullshit.
Baltimore, bad news makes more money and travels faster than good news, and social media platforms are rival companies who measure success through engagement, which means keeping your eyes glued to the screen for as long as possible. Statistically, this is best done by deploying content that markets crisis, fear, or disaster. So the users who dominate these platforms and eventually become parasocial leaders are experts in doing just that, scaring people, scaring the hell out of them. Usually by shaping a distorted version of the outside world that keeps their followers both inside and engaged into a feedback loop that carefully mimics community.
We've all been exposed to
I was saying, and this is something that is probably very good for this video. If you only saw Black Americans on Twitter, which is probably a lot of people who go online and take a lot, because no one really watches the news, but you go online and you see a lot of content on social media. Bro, I can see why you would hate Black people, because bro, they on Twitter and they flood Twitter with bad videos of Black people wilding out, doing crazy shit. And bro, the average Black person is not like that. But you live in the middle of America where ain't no Black people, so all you really can do is go off what you're seeing online. And it's so bad. It's so bad, bro. We're in a really terrible position right now as a country. We're like, hate and capitalism is essentially like the only thing that profits, and the main thing that's like being pushed. Yeah, man.
I primarily use X. My algorithm is mostly right-wing political content. Nick Fuentes gets fed to me a lot.
Bro, hold on. You know what's some crazy shit? You know what I found out recently, bro? You know what I found out recently? Nick Fuentes is a virgin, bro. Nick Fuentes is a 27-year-old Christian conservative virgin. Makes so much sense, bro. It makes so much sense, bro. Like all the like negative shit he be talking about. And it's so interesting that, bro, this man had dinner with the president of the United States, and the president of the United States be saying that like, oh, he's like, you know, he's got a good head on his shoulders. And it's like, bro, pushing content is so ass, because you could literally be online saying some of the most racist shit and anyone that's ever heard, but because like racism and racists don't like make it public that they be racist. Hold on, you know what's and this dude, yeah, fuck yeah, it was the dude that be like talking about people chimping out and whatnot, bro. He lost his job, he got kicked from his church, all because he went online provoking Black people. It's crazy. Like, yo, racism is at an all-time high right now, bro. Niggas need to chill.
To remember that regardless of politics, all people fundamentally want the same thing in life and are just grown babies looking for somebody to play with.
We do games, traditional, like the Highland games. Those are traditional Scottish games.
Even before I lived here, I would come and visit and bring my poker set, and we would just do like very low stakes, like $5, $10 buy-in. It's just a fun night with the blow.
Bro, imagine if white people learn spades.
Grand old time. And then sword fighting is one of the things I really like to do.
Hey everybody. At a time like this, we can't forget that the fight for a brighter future isn't
He low-key ruined it. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I be feeling people when they say he ruined everything. Cause like that racism shit, it was a thing. But it wasn't a big thing until he took office. Now I'm not saying he did anything directly, but like as a black man, I can say he wasn't the greatest. It is what it is. Like, am I happy he was president? Yeah, just because like it's nice to see niggas be president. But like, I don't know. I miss when politicians were old white guys who did their job, and now it's just old white guys who just are racist.
A lot of people are concerned about rapid demographic change, mass immigration, and just what's happening to our countries. Coeur d'Alene, I looked up the census information, and it's dropped nearly 10% of the white population in the last 20 years. That's mostly immigration.
And where'd y'all move from?
I'm from Wisconsin.
And whose idea was it?
It was his idea.
I did notice that race-mixed kids I didn't think looked as attractive as kids who were pure race, but you know, that's, you know.
I'm crying they show a clip of Lotto, of Ice Spice, and talk about race-mixed kids.
Doodle.
So going back to the very beginning, you said you grew up in Southern California?
Yeah.
What part of the area?
The south of LA County, La Mirada.
Okay, cool. So you pretty much grew up like in a pretty diverse area.
Oh yeah, my elementary school was primarily Mexican. I remember we had some kind of cultural day and they asked like, you know, where your ancestors came from, and they were writing it on the board, and it was like Mexico, 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 England, Mexico, Mexico, Mexico. I mean, I have no other identity I can go back to. I'm a quarter or more Norwegian, and then I'm German, and I'm English. So I can't say that I'm English, I can't say I'm German, I can't say I'm Norwegian alone. I'm not even like majority any of those things. So the only...
Bro, niggas have been saying that for years. Like, we don't even know what our background is. You could be part Egypt, Nigerian, you be from Chad. We don't even know, bro. See, that's what I'm talking about, bro. White people and black people could be so cool if we just got over it. If we just got over it and like really locked this America shit down, is just like, yo, this is our country that we built. Cause for real, bro, we did. Well, yeah, we did build it. Y'all came over here, wild out. We, you know what I'm saying?
No cultural identity is as a white American. And I think that's most white Americans, actually.
It seems like the idea of white people or whiteness that we know today that's referenced by the media or by the Associated Press is a relatively new construction. Like talking to my grandparents who grew up in Philadelphia, you had different sections of town that belonged to different, very tight-knit European communities. You had the Irish neighborhoods, German neighborhoods, Italian, Polish, Greek, and then with the mass influx of African Americans from the South during the Great Migrations, those lines kind of dissolved and they became a more loose unit of pan-European whites who fled the cities, and that's part of the reason that Philadelphia became so overwhelmingly black. And so now I don't know my ancestral Irish culture because it dissolved as a result of the political situation of the time. A lot of traditions have been lost throughout the process.
Latinos, though, it's interesting. They come from a bunch of different indigenous backgrounds, plus the Spanish influence.
Yeah.
And they have no problem like seeing their commonality, and they kind of embrace it. Like La Raza, it means the race.
It's so interesting, bro. Bro, the Latin community locked in. I feel like the Latin community family strength is so strong, like in the heritage that like, shout out to the Latino community, bro. Like Mexican, Spanish, Dominican, Puerto Rican, all that, bro. Honduras, all that shit, bro. Y'all really be locked in. Y'all keep y'all family tight-knit. Y'all keep y'all kids together.
After college, Eric's admiration for the Mozarts of the world morphed into a total obsession with Greek philosophy and ancient European history.
You know, those old European cultures.
Today, Europe stuff is still his primary fixation and passion.
I personally have a lot of respect for the Dutch. The Mycenaean Greeks were this big force at the end of the Bronze Age. The religious traditions of pagan Europe had valuable things to teach us. All European people are descended from 3 ancestral groups: the Western hunter-gatherers, the steppe herders, and then from the Neolithic farmers who came from Anatolia around 9000 BC, initially into Greece, and then spreading everywhere else. As a Neoplatonist, I kind of agree with Iamblichus. I like Atlantis research. That's another hobby.
You think Atlantis was a real place?
100%. And they were also in Western Europe at various times.
But do you have French pride?
I'm not French.
All this talking of cultures is really getting me excited. I love history.
Ultimately led Eric into a career in philosophical content creation, beginning with his first videos over 13 years ago.
The term philosophy was first coined by Pythagoras. What we might call pleasure and pain, I think more neutrally and generally could be termed positive and negative subjective value. We can talk about that level of egotism as being a kind in its own right.
Gradually, from 2016 on, these videos became more politicized, focusing a bit less on Plato and metaphysics and more on a shadowy global elite who uses mind control on the unawoken masses.
We can sacrifice, racial purity at a national level if we get cultural and racial integrity at the local level.
It's this kind of content that caught the eye of most current RTTL settlers.
I believe I came across Eric's X account. He has kind of a philosophy channel on YouTube and X. So I found him through philosophical content.
I teach courses on Plato and Aristotle online.
Through that, heard about Return to the Land and became interested.
RTTL was initially marketed as a positive, community-based regression to a pre-industrial society.
The way a state should be run is in the interest of the people, not a set of corporations, not just the ruling class, not just one man.
And if you take the race stuff out of all of this, living this way does provide a pretty gratifying existence to people who've grown up in either Gen Z or millennial American society, where almost everyone is chronically online and frantically scavenging to pay rent in a limited job market.
What are some things that you've built here that you're very proud of?
I don't know, I probably built like 30% of that starter home, maybe like 40% of the little cabin over there. Oh yeah, the other cabin over there, I might have built like 40% of that, but
Do you feel like labor gives you the most personal gratification as far as your role here?
As far as my role here, yes. It's also like a good thing to keep each other responsible. It's very easy, as a teenager, oh yeah, I'm gonna get off of school and I'm gonna go home and play video games and do whatever else you do as a teenage boy in your bedroom for 4 hours, and then before you know it, the day's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas here, if me and Jonathan, we're being unproductive or whatever, we can kind of kick each other in the ass and be hey, what's going on?
What's your favorite thing to do around here?
I like to cook. I've cooked for the guys that work here. I don't really have hobbies or anything.
She cooks a killer steak.
I like being appreciated for my cooking.
Almost everyone here at the land, I think, worked on this.
Proud of it?
Well, it was our first build, so most guys don't have any experience and we're just learning from YouTube.
So I believe that polities should be small in scale to the point where you could conceivably know everyone in the community. I think there should be a diverse set of communities for people to choose from, like the Greek city-states. If you didn't like how Corinth was governed, well, you could move to Athens.
Building from the intellectual framework that Eric has created, race seems to almost arise as an unnecessary flashpoint for a group of people in a virtually all-white area who are primarily concerned with their homesteading project. Yet still, it's brought up constantly.
I hate to be that guy, but I've had a lot of black friends.
Okay, top 5 black people.
Tommy Sotomayor, Louis Farrakhan, let me think, the Hodge twins, and Jesse Lee Peterson.
Best friends ever used to be Puerto Rican. He was a lot of fun, but it's sort of you have these big ethnic blocks that are like boulders, right? And you can build a bridge across and meet in the middle and be friends with someone from another ethnic group, of course, right? But it's very unstable. It doesn't last.
What happened with your Puerto Rican friend?
Oh, nothing. He just moved away. He moved back to Puerto Rico.
Were you sad?
Oh, I was a little bit sad, yeah.
Damn, that sucks, man.
My name is Jonathan Malorn. This is Josephine Moore, and we live on the land here at RTTL.
Have you guys had any kids yet?
No, we're not married.
Oh, you guys are dating?
Yes.
Courting.
What's courting?
Courting is just like dating with more steps. Essentially, we have to be...
Courting, I am looking for marriage. Dating, let's figure it out as we go. Man, this is the same thing. Well, this is interesting. This is also another reason why I think I was just talking to a friend of mine. The single pool is very difficult right now because there are people who are confusing both of these terms.
For Jonathan, who grew up in a Mennonite colony until he was 6, exiting standard society and courting his future wife in isolation is the only viable option for long-term success in today's dating culture.
What is right with the dating culture? Every woman on the internet is more or less advertising herself as sexually accessible. And so if that's what you want to do as a bloke and throw your soul away for a quick goon, yeah, it's great.
That was not the
dating culture for that. The problem with that is, and we see this demographically and statistically, the birth rate is going down exactly because
look at that boom in 2012. Ew.
the marketplace value of sex and monogamy as a whole is basically at an abysmally low level, probably the lowest it's ever been in human history that I've ever studied. And that does not benefit the future generation of our offspring. It does not actually benefit a happy life. People above the age of 40 who are married long term have significantly happier lives, both male and female.
I notice you have a ton of kids.
Yeah.
How many you got?
Number 5 on the way.
Okay, cool. What's the plan for education for the...
Bro, white families be having hella kids. Y'all nasty.
Good.
I'm homeschooling. It's going pretty well. I know everything that they need to learn. It's going to be nice being in the community when they get a little older and I'm going to need help filling in certain subjects I'm not comfortable with. That's another reason I'm glad to have the community, because I don't necessarily want to sift through every piece of history to know, what's acceptable to teach the kids or not. I trust the guys here.
I'm not overwhelmed by the evidence for the exact official narrative, like it was precisely 6 million. You know, there's Black Wall Street. Back in the era of segregation, there are examples of prosperous black communities.
Black Wall Street, I'm pretty sure got burned down in a race riot.
Yeah, I mean, if you look into the details there, that's another one of these narratives. Slavery was bad, but also everyone else practiced slavery too. North America was very sparsely populated when we got here.
That's so dismissive. It's crazy dismissive. Like, yeah, slavery's bad, but other people did it too. Like, cool, but can we talk about the one that you did to my people for real quick, please?
It's important to note that interwoven into these tropes about community building and heritage celebration is a much more intense core, and one that embraces controversial and outdated races.
Black college-educated people still tend to be more violent and criminal than white high school dropouts.
Really?
Yeah, the average IQ in some parts of sub-Saharan Africa is under 75, which is considered mentally disabled. East Asians have measurably a higher average IQ than Europeans, and they're less criminal, and they're more prosperous.
Like every Japanese person I've met, or like Korean, seems really smart, but I've met some Chinese people where it's like, really? I feel like they're fudging the numbers on that one, to be honest.
As far as most experts are concerned, all of these IQ numbers are fudged. Here's a bit more about that from somebody who knows his shit, because I feel like it's worth it.
Bro, I feel like there's a lot of people in all races across the board that are just dumb. And honestly, bro, as a representative of the black community for just being in the dumb group,
tests were made for the purpose of figuring out who's going to do well in school. It doesn't predict terribly well to many kinds of real-world successes. There's so much it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you about emotional intelligence, creative intelligence, common sense, wisdom. There's so much more to a person than just their IQ. I would say the major problem has been what's sometimes called scientific racism, but it's not really scientific. It's using the guise of science to advance racist views, because you sometimes get racial differences in different kinds of test scores, including IQ, that don't take into account where those differences may come from. It was convenient for some people to say, well, look, we can divide people by nationality or socially defined race or ethnic group or religion into different IQ groups, and they probably believed themselves that it told you something, but it didn't tell you what they thought it told you. people with high IQs are often better at convincing themselves of whatever they want. So in other words, they use their IQ for self-justification. They're better at justifying whatever they want to believe. So if they have an ideology, they may have a very weird ideology, but they'll find ways to defend it even if it's not factually accurate. I don't know the details of the people you're studying in Arkansas, but I think that making judgments about people solely on the basis of high IQ is a serious mistake.
Michael Jordan is not a genius.
I don't know Michael Jordan. I've never assessed him. I don't know that much about him. But you see, he's a good example of someone with adaptive intelligence. And in terms of adaptive intelligence, I mean, like, wow, he's done a great job.
Anyways, back to Eric and the fed-up whites of the Arkansas wilderness.
What do you think was modern white America's Treaty of Versailles moment?
I guess like the Civil Rights Act. You know, there's a basis for equal rights under the law, and that was kind of the nominal intention of the civil rights movement. But it went way beyond that and has ended up restricting people's freedom.
One counter argument that I would make to that is that, you know, in the 1940s and 50s, World War II ends, all the returning veterans come home. The GI Bill allows returning veterans to get low-cost mortgages on new homes. This is when Levittowns were being built and suburbs were being constructed at a very rapid rate. Cul-de-sacs were sprouting up, and the American dream was hatched. You know, white picket fence, nuclear family. Now, the Homeowners Loan Corporation, which basically decided who could live where, had racially restrictive covenants that said only white people can live in this area. Minorities can't live. They can only live in certain red line zones. Civil rights.
I would say that they were not at an advantage. Obviously, the expectation that the black community should have reached parity in a generation is crazy. Obviously, that would be impossible. It'd require massive top-down social engineering and redistribution of resources. Now, we have done that over the 20th century, but I think we overcorrected.
Well, for example, like small business loans, right? Like there was something that they sort of blew the water off of like 6 months ago or something like that. And it's basically a fact that if you're not a white male, like you're getting like, I forget the exact numbers, so don't hold me to it, but like $90,000 more to start a small business just because you're a minority. You know, as a white male, you're putting so much more back into the system and we're getting less and less out. It's basically
slave on this plantation, that plantation, the wealth went to this person. You know, if it's all on the books, then I think that's fair. Actually, some cases of reparations of that kind have taken place. So I'm all for that. But there's a more general narrative that black people are where they are in society today because of continual systemic oppression and white supremacy. And I don't think that's true at all.
Do you think there's any solution in America politically that could lead to a reduction in homicides in a place like Baltimore?
I think the options are remigration or death penalty.
It should be noted that RTTL's opposition to the Civil Rights
Bro, his face when he said that, he was dead ass.
Act is beyond an ideological one. And it's Martin Luther King Jr.'s ghost itself that could come back and f this place up. You see, the 1964 rulings included something called the Fair Housing Act, which was designed specifically to stop things like this from happening.
Isn't the Fair Housing Act technically supposed to restrict this kind of thing?
Well, no, because there are exceptions for private associations, and we're not selling real estate. When people buy a share in the company that owns the land here, they're not getting a deed to land. They're getting the right to homestead in our community.
All the initial LLC members, they paid the real estate company directly through the escrow agent.
Unlike a residential development, which is owned by a real estate company that must follow fair housing guidelines, RTTL is an LLC, a limited liability corporation, technically operating on a commercial property that was once owned and zoned by a logging company. So the settlers there are actually partners in the company who must apply with the board to be shareholders.
So you basically buy stock in a company, and then that in turn gives you usage rights for the land.
Right, shares in a private company.
And company boards can refuse the sale of shares to whoever they want. They're not explicitly legally required to give a reason why. You see what they did?
I mean, obviously, European heritage is very important to us, and you'd be surprised, really, by the number of people that, despite knowing that, they'll get through the interview. I've asked them about their ethnic background, and then they mention, oh yeah, but I have a Colombian wife. It's like that kind of thing. It's kind of contrary to our values as an association.
What if the Colombian wife is like 100% Spanish blooded?
well, then it's probably fine.
How much did that first share cost?
About $6K.
It's pretty low.
I think that was for about like 3% share in the LLC.
How much do you think it cost you overall to get to this current point?
Oh, not too much compared to like a normal house.
And how close do you feel like you are to true self-sufficiency where you wouldn't technically have to leave?
Pretty far away from that. It's a good goal. This is our first year really here, so it's just like adding one piece at a time.
You could build a small cabin or have a building delivered for 5 to 10,000. So that plus the cost of the share itself, you could really reasonably get started with about 50,000.
Is your goal ever to pave these roads, or do you kind of like the rugged Appalachian feel?
No, I mean, one day if we could pave all these roads, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
But Orania in South Africa, they have 3,000 people. They bought an already existing town, you know, and then developed from there. And even they still have dirt roads. So it's going to be quite a while before we get these paved.
It should come as no surprise at all that they chose Arkansas for this project. It's a red state with low government oversight and a bunch of its own problems. Plus, the settlement is ungodly far from any population centers. It's hard to explain just how in the sticks this place truly is. The closest town is called Hardy, over 20 minutes away by car, and home to less than 1,000 people, only one of whom is black.
The locals didn't really have an issue with us. We've had good relations with most of our neighbors from the start.
There's a lot of people out here that I guess live and let live, you could say, which I appreciate that.
Still though, despite the lack of local pushback, there is some concern that with this national news media attention, legal trouble could be imminent.
Potentially, the biggest hurdle is the legal hurdle. There's going to be a lot of legal challenges, I think, to go through with this sort of thing.
Even with potential legal complications on the horizon, most people there feel like it's worth it. On the settlement, there's a tinge of nihilism in the air. Most people feel like the country at large is doomed.
I don't think that there's like good political solutions for it now. I mean, that's why I'm here, right? I think actually like people being present and like putting in the labor, kind of like I'm doing, not to toot my own horn too much, but like every single day, and living in a lifestyle that's more conducive to community is probably going to be the way forward.
So do you see places like this, return to the land settlements, sprouting up across the country as a potential way to actually counter the demographic shift?
I don't think it will counter the demographic shift as a whole. I think it will provide safe places for my kids and grandkids to grow up valuing their culture, and that's what I'm going for. You know, that's my goal.
I think the solution looks something like what we're doing here. I think that's probably the best course of action.
I think the best we can hope for with politics is just to be left alone. I don't think realistically with the electoral maps we're looking at right now, there's ever going to be Uber-based gets elected. Nick Fuentes actually could probably do a pivot which I think he's already kind of doing, where he focuses less on the race question, more on Israel, and gets a broader coalition for electoral politics, so it's possible, but I don't think it's going to be like the next Führer or anything.
And right now there are several communities being organized. One of the things I've been up to lately is getting ready to go to all those sites where there are groups of people who want to do this and help them get organized, help them, you know, decide who their board of managers will be for their companies that'll own their land. So yeah.
I left the settlement confused and honestly a bit sad. I mean, I know there's been problems and stuff, but it felt like shit was kind of all good not that long ago. The fact that people nowadays will go to such lengths to feel seen and heard is a symptom of a far greater social ill than meets the naked eye through this video. The American experiment is beginning to crack in new ways, and armies of the confused are shaping and writing the narrative. If I live a long and healthy life, I truly wonder how things will look when I'm 80 years old, and if I'll be equipped to explain to the youth of the future where and how we went wrong, or if we were ever right in the first place. I guess time will tell.
Channel 5 Live!